Hey diddly-do my didgeridoo's, welcome back to J-Mick. My name is Jack, the snack that smiles back. We got some more controversial Reddit stories today, let's go have a read. An update on yesterday's main story, which has a expected ending. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on the original post, took all your advice on board, and this is what happened. I had a long think for a couple of days about what I wanted to say to Mum. My mum has narcissistic tendencies, so I knew I had to tread lightly. I still live with her in her house. Although I do pay rent, it's still her house. She's kicked me out before, and I have no doubt she would do it again. I asked my mum for a word in private. She came upstairs. At first, I explained, I've had a chat with boyfriend, and we both feel like on Sunday, you spoiled our anniversary. You made us both feel uncomfortable, and I have decided from now on, there will be no more asking for favors. No more lifts, no more dropping items to work, etc. She was understanding at first and let me talk. She responded to my initial point by saying, I only asked so many times because I never got a definite no, that he wasn't coming to help me. I reminded her that she knew it was our anniversary. They had agreed that morning he would help take her things to work late that evening and they would meet on Thursday to collect them. She said she forgot it was our anniversary. I told her that my text messages to her that said boyfriend isn't leaving until late tonight and we are eating now, sorry, should have been enough of an answer. She then said, boyfriend was already driving you both to the restaurant to pick up your takeaway. I thought he could have done it then. I reminded her again that they had agreed another time and that this was our anniversary plans and we weren't prepared to break up our day for her. I explained again how her messages made us feel unable to relax and enjoy our day. She said, I'm sorry if you felt that way. I explained how I feel their relationship has become inappropriate and makes me feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable with the fact that they have their own separate world at their workspace. To which she replied that their friendship group only existed in the early days when everyone was moving in and getting to know each other. I took this as a fair point from her, as upon reflection, they don't talk often about the people they know from their work studio, and it was actually a more prevalent topic of conversation during the early stages of moving into their workspaces, and not so much anymore. So, that felt good to clear the air on that topic. I further explained how I'm not comfortable with her asking for odd jobs from him anymore around the house, as these things have become not so few and far between, and that this said jobs are becoming more strenuous and not so quick and easy. I reminded her of the time I mentioned in my original post where she had the ladder out and made him put bricks up. This is where the victim playing, narcissism, and guilt tripping begins. Mum said, well, I see him as a healthy young man. I am old and have bad knees. I was so nervous and scared to be going up that ladder myself, I had him do it for me. Don't you think that's fair? I could have hurt myself so high up. My body just can't take things like that. I empathized with her, but also reminded her that he is not a handyman, and that specific occasions made us late for our appointment. I realized I shouldn't have used the word appointment, as it was more of a scheduled plan that we had rather than an appointment as such, but my point still stood. My mum fixated on the fact I used the word appointment and said, appointments are things like dentists, doctors, hairdressing, etc. I didn't make you miss anything. You have to make allowance for these things. I explained that I may have used the wrong word there, but her interference in our day made us miss something we had planned together. This to me felt like her trying to twist the situation and focus on something totally irrelevant, and made me lose focus because I focused on the fact that I'd said the wrong word. She started becoming irate. Her tone of voice changed. She was staring at me. Her eyes went like there was nothing behind them. She began saying, I never ask for anything from anyone. I only ask him for help when I desperately need it. So you do ask anything from anyone, okay. I didn't respond to this because I knew it would become an argument. I said, okay. As you can probably tell from the original post, my mum takes and gives nothing back. She then says, and now I'm getting ticked off with the demands you're putting on me when this is my freaking house. I said, I know this is your house, but it still makes me uncomfortable with your closeness with him. She then said, you are putting a wedge between me and boyfriend. This was an instant alarm bell in my head. He is my boyfriend? How am I the wedge? This baffled me, but I didn't argue. I kept calm. it would only act as an ignition. I said, I understand this is your house, but I need you to understand your relationship with my boyfriend makes me uncomfortable. She then began to get upset. She reminded me of a time where my boyfriend stayed around and I hadn't told my mom he was around. He came downstairs in the morning and my mom was still in her towel from after her shower. My boyfriend didn't react to her in the towel, just respectfully said good morning and carried on. Now this upset my mum, perhaps a bit too much in my opinion, and acts slightly traumatized by it, and she began to say, "How embarrassed do you think that made me feel when you never told me he was here and he saw me in my towel? Do you not think that hurt me?" Oh, please tell me you said, "I'm sorry you felt that way." Oh, please tell me you said that. I sighed and genuinely did start to feel guilty. Boo! The conversation ended there as I didn't respond. She stared at me and got up to leave my room. Mum started a new job the day after mine and my boyfriend's anniversary. As I was still upset about the text messages incident, I hadn't had a chance to ask her how her new job has been going, as I'd been waiting for a chance to speak to her about this issue first. Last night was the only time we were at home together, as I work early mornings and she works late nights. I wish I could have done it sooner, but we only crossed paths at home for the first time last night. As she was getting up to leave the conversation, she said, "Oh yeah, and my new job is great. Thanks for asking," and slammed my door. Needless to say, it didn't go over very well. I went to see my boyfriend after this incident, and he told me everything I'd said was enough. He looked after me, agreed with it all, and supported me. I'm only 21, and he's 26, and honestly, neither of us have the money to move out. We both have a small amount of savings, but that's it. We both live in London, and although I appreciate the comments in the OG post telling us to move out, I don't think many people truly understand how hard it is to find housing in the UK, let alone London. It won't happen anytime soon. We both work full time, we both save, and it still doesn't cut it. So please, no more comments telling us to just move out. We can't. I really, really wish we could, but it isn't feasible at the moment. I just don't know what to do. Now, before I go to the comments, I do want to kind of ponder on this point that she's made earlier. She makes the argument that her mum takes and gives nothing back. Now, it isn't specified if exactly the boyfriend lives with her as well, but okay, so she's living at home with her mother. Do you pay any sort of rent? I'm going to assume you do, but if you don't, I am going to have to challenge that argument that she just takes. I mean, you're 21. If you aren't putting in a decent enough work into the household as she is, then, especially considering she's at an older age, it kind of makes it a fair idea that, you know, your boyfriend can be trading a bit of labor on her half. Now, don't get me wrong. I totally agree with all these narcissistic tendencies the mother's displaying, and it clearly does seem like she's sort of taking advantage of the man's young, broad-shouldered labor. Definitely fulfilling her Stacy's mum fantasies with this relationship. Her request is simply, don't tell us to move out, we can't move out. So, of course, Reddit offers some alternate solutions. Goal should be to move out of your mum's house at— no, hang on. The other option might be to consider some more esoteric living around— oh, okay, that's still living somewhere else. Glad you were standing up for yourself. I advise you to plan to move out the— So apparently no one reads stories on Reddit. Here's an interesting suggestion though. Way out of the box and the scope of your post, but maybe take a working holiday. It's super fun, and the ski hills are always looking for staff, and the majority have accommodations and transport included with the job. Great idea. Gonna have to really hope the boyfriend can get the same exact job though. So okay, with this update, what are your thoughts here? That was my thoughts before. If you aren't equally paying the fees to live in this space as your mother is, then help around the house how you can. And look, if the boyfriend can do the bricklaying more than you can, then yeah, seems like a fair trade of living space. But that said, I do also agree with the idea that, look, if she needs someone to do these things, hire someone to do it. Like, you're gonna trust this random 26-year-old to bricklay your house? You think he's certified? You think he knows what he's doing? Overall, definitely cases of a narcissist, especially the sorry you felt that way. Oh. Another intellectual conundrum for you. I found out that I wasn't my husband's first choice. So my husband, 29, and I, 26, met online 3 years ago. We got married last May. We have had a great relationship, and our wedding day was the happiest day in my life. My husband is so good to me, and he makes me feel so loved and appreciated. and I love him so much. But everything changed last Monday. I was on my sister-in-law's baby shower, and when they didn't know I was listening, my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and sister-in-law's best friend were in the kitchen talking about my husband and I. The friend said that she liked me a lot, and my sister-in-law said she was happy he let M go and settled with me, and that she never thought this would happen. I pretended that I didn't hear them, but I knew M to be a close friend of my husband from college. He never mentioned that they were in a relationship. All I knew is that she moved to live in another city after graduation and that she couldn't attend our wedding. So, since Monday, I have been pondering. I am happy with him, but I wanted to know why he never mentioned anything about M. So, today, I did what any sensible wife would do, and I waited for him to go to work and start snooping around on his iPad. He doesn't know I know his code. I didn't even need to look for long. There it was. Tens, maybe hundreds of texts between them over a period of years. Before he met me, and even after. From what I understood, he has asked her out many times, and she has refused. Him telling her he would never love anyone like her, and she, stopped him with a wink emoji that says, "I won't have you, but do please keep trying." One of M's texts right before we got married was about how she knew she would eventually end up with him. My husband texts back that he was getting married soon and that he was happy. She answered, "You can always get a divorce," and my husband sent a crying laughing emoji and a wink. She then texted, "If you chose between the two of us, who would you choose?" He answered, "You only want me when I'm not available." She answered, "Shut up, I know you still love me." He didn't answer. The last exchange between them was 3 weeks ago. She told him that she's moving back home and that she missed him and wondered if they could meet. He said, of course he wanted to meet. She asked him, "Wouldn't your wife mind?" He answered, "Why should she?" She, "If she knew what I want to do to you, she should be worried actually." He, "Stop teasing, it won't work." "I'm not teasing. The poor woman won't stand a chance." She also said, "I called you, why didn't you pick up?" He said, "We're having dinner, I will call you tomorrow." So that's all I could find. I haven't talked to him yet because I don't know how to approach the subject. I think there's definitely something between them, but I can't ask him because he would know that I went through his texts. I am very hurt. I thought he loved me and that he was happy with me. I want to cry. I don't know what my next step should be. One moment, I want to pretend I had no idea and wait for him to leave me. The next, I want to run away and never come back. Popular thought brings up the fact of their own experiences. They don't change. And know what? When I finally got the courage to leave years later, after a lot of cheating and manipulating on his part, I found the love of my life. I never have been happier. Point is, you don't have to stay. You will find happiness. Save the time and all the extra heartache. Good luck. Now, without a doubt, there are many red flags about this guy. The fact he is still keeping in conversation with this woman who is clearly disrespecting who is meant to be the love of his life. This whole, if you had to choose between us, who would you choose? I wish I could defend you more in the sense that you are not really verbally giving this woman a chance to walk all over you and further disrespect your partner, but you're still engaging with her. Relationships can be rather complicated depending on their origin and how they develop into what they are. Some people are naturally platonic flirts with one another. It is possible, though let's argue very unlikely, that their flirty engagements over these text messages are them sort of parodying their past times. Of course, that does not deny you as the partner feeling emotionally cheated on, which I can agree that, yeah, this is kind of emotional cheating. But let's go back to his history with M. Was he obligated to share his past relationship experiences with you? No. I think the idea too that just because you weren't the first choice doesn't mean you weren't the better choice. Though I feel that obligation does depend on the history itself. Let's say you cheated on a partner 5 years ago. To you, that was your last genuine, real relationship. Since then, there's been a few attempts here and there, but you just didn't really feel like it was the right person. It felt like you were, you didn't want to really be with them. You finally meet the person you're with now. That cheating you is long gone. You've learnt your mistake. You've realized what you were really after in a relationship. Are they obligated to know especially after they've mentioned in the past of their disgust for people who've cheated. Are you really a red flag a-hole to avoid bringing up this past of yours that you know you were so certain of that you were no longer that horrible person? Now, I do think yes, just because, I mean, could you imagine hiding this from them until later in the relationship? Like, oh God. But I also sympathize with that scenario. I mean, could you blame your partner avoiding telling you this kind of stuff, especially when there's such a constant stigma about these kind of things? I don't doubt that the OP's husband here is ashamed of his Romeo past towards this woman. And clearly, based on the conversations he's read, he's aware of how stupid he was. I think the crying face and winking emoji is definitely sus. I also think that is the easiest way to try to just end a conversation. You know, you're not adding anything more, you just leave that, go off. Still, he probably should have just left it on red if anything though. So that brings us to the question. Does she confront him? I've been through all your personal social media accounts. This is what I found. How dare you be distrustful by me breaking your trust? It's tricky because if he is genuinely planning to cheat and stuff, he could easily be dismissing it all and trying to put it on the rug, do whatever he can to put your mind at ease. Though I think the good guy ending here is if he just cuts all ties with this woman. Clearly, she has no benefit to his life other than to cause a stir. And those things cost like $5 from your local Kmart or Walmart, okay? It's a stirrer. You don't need a woman from way out back to do that for you. You can just buy one from Kmart. It's $5 to make a nice stew. It's a joke about a stirrer. Moving on to some fresher stories. My wife, who's 34, just confessed to cheating on me, a 32-year-old male, 3 years ago, but she has completely changed her life around. Well, let's see how legitimate that is. We have been married for 4 years and have been together for 6. We were literally the case of opposites attract. I was what is commonly depicted in pop culture as a nerd, as in I was a very good student, but I was also a fine sportsman. But yes, I had very little interest in partying or hookups. It was just not my scene. I don't even drink. She, on the other hand, was someone who loved to drink, party, hookups, etc. In short, she was the cool girl in college. Anyways, we never interacted much in college as we ran in very different circles, but we knew each other as we had a common love of maths. So we said hi to each other in library and occasionally discussed math problems. Anyways, that was how our relationship was in college. We were never in contact after college as there was no reason to. Anyways, we met again 3 years later as we were working in adjacent buildings. We eventually started dating and got married. She still liked to party, but due to her busy schedule, she hardly went out once every 2 weeks, and I very seldom went with her. Anyways, one night, she didn't come home till 3 in the morning, and it was very unlike her, as she always came back by 12 to 1, as she is very serious about her sleep regimen and never lets anything disrupt her sleep. But I still remember that day because starting the next day, there was a massive change in her. She almost stopped drinking. Her party days suddenly declined by 90%, and whenever she went out, she insisted that I come with her, started hanging out with me a lot more, and came up with a lot of projects for us to do together. If our relationship before that day was very good, then our relationship after that day became awesome. We have recently started talking about buying a house and starting a family together. Yesterday night, we were laying on the bed and I was talking about whether we need 4 or 5 bedrooms in our new home, when suddenly she burst into crying. I consoled her, and when she became coherent, she said that she has to share something with me that has been weighing on her conscience for 3 years now. She then confessed that she cheated on me with a guy she met during that night out. She told me that some guys kept buying drinks for her and her friends, and although initially she didn't want to accept free drinks, eventually she gave in, as her friend was really interested in one of those guys. And I can attest to the fact that she never accepts drinks from guys. She was famous even during college days for never accepting drinks from anyone. She always paid for her own drinks. Anyways, eventually they decided to go to the guy's house as her friend begged her to. She admitted that she should have said no at that point, but she didn't. So they went back at the guy's apartment and the girlfriend hooked up with the guy. My wife was sitting with the friend in the living room and, well, they also hooked up. It was not full-on penetrative stuff, but everything else happened. After coming home, she realized just how big a mistake she made and committed to making major life changes, including dropping the said friend and drastically decreasing her alcohol intake. I asked her why she didn't tell me then, and she replied that she didn't want to lose me, especially as she was never going to do it again. Then I asked, why tell me now? She said that when I started talking about our future together, she was wrecked with guilt, and she didn't want to build a future life with me based on secrets. So she confessed. I didn't know how to respond, so I asked for some space from her. Right now, I am in my second bedroom, deciding about my next course of action. Suddenly, I remembered about this sub and realized that I could maybe get some perspective from different people about my situation. I am open to any and all suggestions, people. Right now, I have not told anyone else. So this story literally flipped around the previous story we just read. My first critique is the fact that, like, you justify that you're trying to protect him from the shameful thing you did, but in doing so, you stole his ability to choose how to go forward with his life. Essentially, you risked wasting the last, 3 years of his life. Those past 3 years of you turning this relationship into something pretty good, into something awesome, have been fueled through a lie. Like, oh great, good on you for wanting to make the relationship amazing and putting effort into all these little projects to do together. You should do that just out of genuine love for your partner, not because you feel bad for what you did to them. Most constructive thought here though this person must be a psychologist. Top 3 points when a relationship can come back from cheating. 1, if it's a random one-night thing, not an emotional relationship with someone they know. 2, they tell their partner about it immediately after. 3, they commit to making changes so that it can't ever happen again. Now you've got 1 and 3 here, and that is true. This was just a spontaneous thing, and honestly, it's quite proved that this is the case, especially when she's been making such I'd rather say drastic efforts to ensure she's never out alone. So while she is a cheater, yes, I have to give her brownie points for that. I mean, it's quite true she has been making an effort to change. Some people might be able to accept this and continue the relationship. The fact that the changes she made were so obvious and so positive is another good sign. On the other hand, you are absolutely justified in ending a relationship over an important lie that was kept for 3 years. For me, I could maybe get over this for a person I loved and married, but I encourage you not to try to decide right away. Be with it and wait for your own feelings to become clear to you. Yes, this is a big bomb to be dropped on you. You can't be expected by yourself or through the expectations of anyone else around you to have made a decision within the day. That house is going to be stone cold awkward for at least a week, but it should be. You need to process this. Take the time you need. So where do you stand here? Yeah, she cheated. It was spontaneous. She's made all these efforts in the past to change herself for the better, but all this effort to change was through a bad deed that she's been trying to keep hidden from him. You could argue, oh, well, because I've done all these good things for you, I'm not a bad person. That said, it's clearly not how she thinks if she literally broke down into tears after 3 years. Like, it's clearly been really stressing her out this entire time. Moral of the story, opposites don't necessarily attract. They're just work together sometimes. Let's move on to a story that's far more wholesome and lovely. I mean that sarcastically. Boyfriend says other girls are hotter. Hey guys, so for some background, I've gained weight recently because I kicked a cocaine addiction and am now working to lose it. In the meantime, I've noticed I cannot take my boyfriend anywhere without him checking out every single girl that walks past. And I mean every single one. He'll turn his head constantly and just look and keep looking back, checking out everybody. And don't get me wrong, if someone is attractive, I get looking, but it's become over the top, so I asked him why. And he said it's because since I've gained weight, I'm no longer hot to him, so he doesn't get to see a hot body at home anymore, so he just looks at other women because he doesn't get it anywhere else. The thing is, I can't even be upset because he can't help not being attracted to me anymore. He can't force himself to. He doesn't want to break up though, but it's making me feel so terrible whilst I'm in the process of losing weight. Dude, when they say openly communicate with your partner, this is not what they mean. Props to you for acknowledging the fact that you shouldn't force someone to be attracted to you just because of the way you currently look or feel. But this isn't the kind of person you need to be giving that sort of respect to. Like, yes, people are attracted to the visuals of someone. Physique is a thing. Let's not deny that. We're all gonna notice a nice booty when we see one, regardless of gender. You know it, boys. Admit it. You see a guy's nice butt, you're gonna look. You're gonna notice it. It's not gay to acknowledge some prime assets. But there's also this other factor when it comes to visual attraction. Respect dignity. Basic flippin' respect for your partner, who is clearly going through a very tough moment in their life, trying to fight off an addiction while losing weight. Like, Jesus. I think this comment is the biggest kick in the guts while also really bringing it home. Dude, he doesn't want to break up because of stability, and mostly she's probably a living kink doll to him. It's sometimes easier to settle with the poo-tang you have than to find a new one. But also great follow-up. I hope she dumps him. It's an easy way to drop 120 plus pounds of worthless dead weight all in one go. There you go. There's your weight loss journey. How can I, a 22-year-old female, forgive my little sister who's 19 for calling me a loser in front of her friend for losing my virginity too late? I, 22-year-old female, met my boyfriend, a 28-year-old male, in January 2019 while I was on vacation. We exchanged numbers and kept in touch for months until we decided to meet again. But by then, the pandemic ruined our plans, and we had to have a long-distance relationship for the past 2 years. Oh my God, can Emily and I relate? Well, okay, maybe not for that long, but we can relate. Well, the point is that he was finally able to travel to visit me for my birthday, and he stayed with me for 2 weeks in the apartment that I share with my little sister, a 19-year-old female. And the second night he spent here, I asked her if she could go to her friend's house or something just for that night, because, well, I wanted some privacy. She agreed, and when she came back the next day, she asked me a lot of questions. She knew that I was a virgin, so she was very curious to know what happened and how it was, and I didn't hesitate to tell her everything, because we have, or used to have, an amazing relationship, and she pretended to be happy for me. And even a few days later, she told me that she was going to stay at her friend's place so that I could have some more privacy with my boyfriend. So I thought she was being really good for doing that, but she just wanted an excuse to run with her friend to make fun of me. She didn't want to help me at all. I knew that because her friend's sister is my friend, and she was horrified to hear the things my own sister was saying. She told me how my sister made fun of me for being boring. She thinks that I'm a loser for losing my virginity at this age. She lost hers at 17, I think, and that she is ashamed that I'm so naive to think that my boyfriend doesn't sleep with other girls in his country. So I got mad, because she had no right to tell other people all that when I trusted her so much. When I was around 13, I was molested by a teacher, and since then, it was really difficult for me to have any contact with boys. But years later, I met my boyfriend, and I knew that I could trust him, and that he wouldn't hurt me, so I waited. And it hurt me that she made fun of me even knowing that. I confronted her and asked her if I was such a loser. Why does she live in the apartment that I rent, and why does she eat the food that I buy? And if I am a loser, why am I paying her college fees? And she just apologized and admitted that what she did was wrong, and she told me that she will tell her friend not to say anything to anyone. That's not the lesson to learn here. But I was really furious, and I told her that she has 3 weeks to get a new job and get the hell out of my place. I also told her that I will pay 2 more college fees and then she will have to pay the rest herself. And she panicked because if I don't pay her college fees and she doesn't get a job, she won't be able to pay them. And our parents can't afford that. But now I think I'm being a horrible sister because I want her to get the same education as me. And I guess I can forgive her, but I just don't know how. And I would like to know what step I must take in the first to be able to forgive her. Let's talk about the virginities. Where do you stand with the idea of that whole thing? Get rid of it straight away? It should be with someone meaningful even if you have to wait 10 years. Based on my own personal experience as someone who, I'm a guy, what do you expect? Of course I was desperate to lose my V card. I needed to be the prime pro at getting it on. I can't be awkward and not know what I'm doing. Do you know how many Facebook groups there are of girls making fun of guys who can't get it right? But look, while I agree that you should be with someone that you can trust and feel safe and comfortable with, I also disagree with the idea that you need to wait for that perfect someone and that the first time needs to be magical and amazing. No, it just needs to be with someone that you can feel comfortable enough to, be awkward with. Even if that's someone you met at a cosplay nightclub convention. that you just really, sparked a good friendship with, and then a week later after chatting on Facebook and stuff, you'd bring up your relationship history and they find out you're a virgin and they ask to take your virginity because, hey, what's wrong with losing it out of pity? As for being a loser, for losing it in your mid-20s, shut up. Shut up! Your sister is going to struggle at genuine relationships for years to come because she's just developed this mindset that all men only want to just put it in ya and get out. No doubt because she keeps going to all these parties and stuff where all these men are just in a fruitful supply. But in her defense, you literally flipped over her entire livelihood, the entire way she's been living. You gave no warning aside from just 3 weeks to totally change her life around while she's in the middle of study. Again, totally an a-hole comment of her to make, and I do understand your struggle to forgive her based on your own history that she is well aware of. You've essentially evicted her like a narcissistic and abusive parent would. I don't think that's fair. I think maybe she can lose some privileges like the fact she doesn't have to pay rent or that she can eat your food, things like that. I understand those kind of measures you might want to take, maybe temporarily or something, but to whack her over the head with a complete eviction and forcing her to pretty much fend for herself because of a snarky little childish comment she made, being the stupid child she is, I think that's going a bit too far. I'd argue you can stand your ground without completely nuking the entire ground itself. Well done, my psychopathic suffragette, you've made it to the end of this video. If you're this far into the video, you've clearly enjoyed yourself today by forgetting to change this video over. So please leave a like to prove that you did. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you're from MK, hello, this is my face. Emily's back from the high seas today, so I'm going to be reading some stories with her later this afternoon to put in tomorrow, so I'll see you guys for that one. Otherwise, have a good one. My name's been Jack, you've been lovely, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.